Hi, everyone, and welcome to Behind the Experience, the podcast where we talk with people shaping the future of events. I'm Francisco, Head of Growth and Ecosystem at Eventify, and your host today. Eventify is an event technology platform that helps agencies, in-house teams, exhibitions, and organizers run smart event experiences. Today, I'm really excited to welcome our first guest, Sian, the multi-award winning founder and CEO of Strawberry Lemonade Events. Since 2019, Sean has built a social enterprise that works with everyone from Prince Harry's, Travelist to TED conferences, creating experiences that just don't entertain, they create actually change. She is four times Scottish Event Award winner, was recently crowned as Best Agency at the Event IT Scotland Awards, and has this incredible superpower of connecting with people, whether it's one person or a full stadium of delegates. What I love about Shan's approach is how she turned event planning into a force for social good, using her platform to connect people facing social exclusion with opportunities in the event industry. From getting John Bishop to sell pies at Liverpool Christmas market to managing transport strike during international conferences, Sean knows what it takes to turn chaos into creativity. Sean, finally, welcome to the stage and welcome to the show today. We are really pumped of having such a caliber of professional with us today.
Oh,
So,
Francisco, thanks very much for having me. I have to laugh. Like when you were doing the bio, I was like, oh, she sounds great. I should hire her. It doesn't feel like that's me. So you've made me sound wonderful. So thanks very much. I just really hope I can live up to now the expectations set to your audience, but I'll try and bring my A game today for you. Okay.
we love that. Yeah, I'm sure we'll do it. We have a few topics to cover today. So one of them is this idea of creating memorable experience for attendees. The second one is about like how event tech can actually enable the success for events. Now those two are the core pillars for our conversation today.
Great.
But I wanted to start just asking because this got me curious. Since you have worked with everyone from TAD audiences to corporate delegates, from the attendees perspective, what's the difference between walking out of an event thinking, oh, that was nice, or wow, this really changed how I see things? What could you say?
I think for me, it's having putting yourself. So I'm obviously an event planner, but I'm also a small business owner or an entrepreneur, however you want to put it, because sometimes I laugh that nobody's a small business owner anymore. Everybody's an entrepreneur. But I think you have to put yourself in your delegate's shoes and ask them what they are looking for. So for me, if I'm attending an event, I really want to move the needle on my business. So I'm at A and I'm looking to get B. And that's not necessarily lots and lots of sales, though that's always nice. I think it's whether I can network with the right people, if I can hear a speaker that is not only inspiring, because I think the time has come where lots of people in the events industry have heard really inspiring speakers, but it's about getting that speaker to tell us messages that can also help us in business. So don't just tell me your story, tell me top tips and make it relevant to either the industry, i.e., if it's a conference load of dentists or if it's a conference load of artists or fellow event planners, really make it relevant to me, because when I leave an event, I want to have had a great time, but I want to feel like even though I've been away from my desk all day, that I have benefited my business somehow and I've not just been inspired, which is wonderful, but I have come away with something that makes me think my business is now in a better place because I attended that event.
Sean, so what you mean is, like the agenda, the content should always bring practical information, things that business owners can actually go take and apply right away into their business. That is the real value behind. This is how this event has changed how I think. Right?
Absolutely. And I think that that's why it's so important for when you're hiring an events agency that you have that events agency at the table when you're making decisions around the conference, because the event planner needs to know about the content and they need to be able to cross reference you and make sure that they're challenging you on what is best for the audience. Because sometimes, as a client, you can have an absolute North Star in mind, whereas the event planner will be able to shape that message, just maybe not in the most obvious or linear fashion that you think. So that could be the client really has to have a special message from a sponsor, and they think the sponsor should be the keynote. And then we know that potentially the sponsor isn't the most inspiring keynote. Whereas we would then, as planners, be able to offer a plethora of options of how to ensure that all the sponsors' needs are met, how they still have that visibility, how the conference doesn't necessarily need to have yet another message from the sponsor. But however, something like breakout sessions and workshops could be so much more beneficial from the sponsor, as opposed to them doing a half hour, what feels like timeshare slot. They could actually get much more one-to-one time with potential customers and much deeper understanding of what that customer might need and how their solution could be the antidote to their problem. But the conference doesn't take a knock. You don't end on a low note.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And it's good that you say that the agency, should be involved from day one or from day zero, if we can say, in the
Yep.
whole planning. And I like the idea where the agency can actively be involved also in the programming part, because sometimes, no, hey, no, we are going to figure out our speakers, just help us with the operations. But no, like even like, the agency can advise on how much, let's say, percentage of the agenda should be sponsor talk, or how the mix should work, because otherwise it might feel unbalanced. Even though, as you say, sometimes the sponsor have also like big influencers in the industry as part of their teams.
I
But
mean,
I love this.
absolutely.
I love this idea.
We had an example recently where we had a client, and when we looked at their agenda, without us being experts in their content, because obviously you could be hired by any type of client, right? Pharmaceuticals, banking, tech, innovation, sustainability, crafting, like fashion, it could be anything. However, just by looking at their agenda, we knew it wasn't going to work because they had a massive, quite dense panel session straight after lunch. And I thought that is not really going to work. Like coming straight in from lunch, people, I think, need a little bit of energy. They need a bit of inspiration. They need to be moving around. So we were able to scale back that session, and then ultimately it allowed the rest of the day just to look a lot more healthy in terms of that it wasn't going to run on, and that it would also keep people to the final session, which is often a real challenge for event planners, is now getting people to stay at a conference the whole day. And that's something that we have to challenge ourselves on to ensure that we're doing something really captivating, and also really challenge our clients on, who could be really, again, headstrong in the fact that they want certain people to be doing certain sessions. They want certain messages out there. And we know people will not stay for that just because you put it on.
I like that. What would you recommend after lunch then to get people moving around? Because now I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, I tell
What
you,
format? What type of?
like nobody hates anything more interactive and moving about more than me, right? So I am absolutely the person that's do as I say, not as I do. Because when I'm at a conference, I'm like, oh my God, just let me sit. But actually, I know it's a case of pushing yourself, right? It's like at the gym, you're like, oh, I know I should do that or what. So I think short sessions, some sort of networking, like either finding somebody, some sort of maybe speed networking, some sort of using technology like an app to sort of gamifying a session as well, or even just having a couple of options so not everybody's pulled back into the same kind of keynote or plenary session. Like using your venue as much as you can, using different breakouts and giving people a little bit of options as well. And that can also be really good too, as sometimes you don't have anything to say over lunch to people, right? Like you might just need so it could be like, oh, are you going to the green, blue, or the purple session, or what session are you going to? Like, I've seen this person before, they were really good, but I'd like, I think it can just be great to have options. And then especially if you don't have something and you've just met somebody, it could be like, oh, that's great, like, do you mind if I come along to that with you, or thanks very much for the recommendation. I think if possible, because I really recognize the challenges, because I'm saying put on breakout sessions, and then not every conference facility has options for breakouts. But I'm thinking it's really a case of getting people to wake up, move their bodies, chat a bit more, and back to engaging their brains.
Yeah, I have seen even MCs after lunch, when then everyone is going back to stage, like trying to do dancing and make jokes and
Yeah.
stuff like that to get people waking up, maybe, right?
It's tough, right? Because sometimes you've absolutely got the crowd for that, and you absolutely. And then other times you could have a really stoic, traditional audience who are thinking like, "Who is that idiot?" And you're like, "Oh, okay." So it is really about striking a balance. So that comes back to having a seat at the table when the conference is being discussed and being fleshed out, because then you will get to really know your client. Your client is probably quite representative of their audience, so you would then know what would work best. And it could even just be a case of having a shorter session after lunch, going into some sort of more sort of mix and mingling, having really refreshing drinks, having some fruit options, just something that gives people a little bit of energy, changing up some music. That for some clients could be absolutely pushing the boat out. And then for other clients, they're like, no, let's get on the boats. Let's take this conference, like let's do something really, really exciting. Let's do something outdoorsy or whatever. I think it just really depends on your audience. I think one thing that we see online is that we can often see really big budget, large scale, high sponsored conferences. And I think the reality of what most events planners are working with is not that. I don't think events planners are working with massive budgets, enormous AV budgets, being able to take
I
people to
feel you.
a destination.
Yes, I can totally relate.
Yeah.
Yes, and so this is I would say this point is really valuable. No, so would you say that the key to be able to create a memorable experience for attendees rely mostly in the team and also the agency supporting the event, having clear or clarity about the personas that this event is going to be serving? Do you have a special process or maybe a discovery call just to figure out, hey, I want to learn exactly what personas are you serving with this event? What is
I
your
mean,
process as advisors on that front?
I probably after all these years still haven't perfected a process. I think it's just something inherent. Like for me, I'm like, so many people can be like, these are my ideas. I am really good at this. This is what we should do. And actually, just audiences can be so demanding now and demanding in ways that we don't even know. So it could be a case of like we used to think a conference had to be 9 till 6 p.m. with a drinks reception afterwards. Now it could be a case of we have to make this 9 till 2, and add on additional extras, and that's where sponsors can maybe get really creative. But no, I wouldn't say we necessarily have a process. I would just really push the client to be able to articulate who their client is, why they are doing this event as well. Like, what is it? And honestly, see if it's sales. Let us know. Like, don't try and hide those objectives and then be like, oh, that ended up being really expensive and we didn't get much return. I'm like, whatever your objectives are, be open and transparent about it, because we can design anything. So if it is sales, then we can absolutely do much more targeted sessions. We can really help with networking and really think about like brand positioning and all that sort of thing, sign ups, how we can incorporate tech as well. But if we don't know these things, then it makes it really, really challenging for us. And then I would also challenge my customer or my client to say, what are the things that are stressing you out? Like, what in this whole process, when you're telling me these words, what is giving you like an icky feeling in your stomach? Like, what's making you most nervous? If that's capacity, if that's budgets, if that's you're not going to get this signed off at a higher level, or that at a higher level have i.e., like, you've got partners in a law firm who are really demanding X, Y, Z. I'm like, just be really honest with us, because we can handle anything and we can deliver anything, but we need to know. And no planner needs, wants, or desires a change in brief or budget halfway through the planning, or 6 weeks out, 2 weeks out. We need to be on the same page. And then it's a case of, when we're on these planning calls, going back to the objectives, hey, does this check this off? Like, it's like your marketing pillars. Does this hit a marketing pillar? Does this hit a strategy pillar? Does this hit an objective? And that can also be really good if sometimes some people want to do one way and then other people want to do it another way, or some people want to have a certain speaker, some people don't. We just look back at the objectives, like, why did we do this? that's the guiding light.
Yeah. Yeah, everything resonates with me. I think that no secrets between the team. Both sides of the team is a
Yep.
key, no, to succeed. Yes. Now, let's try to dive in this idea of the memorable events experiences, because yeah, we see quotes about this everywhere and people praising that they can build a memorable event. But let's go in the nitty gritty of this. So let's talk about attendee psychology. When someone walks into one of your events, what are the first few moments that determine whether they'll be mentally checked in or just going through the motions?
So the thing that I speak to the team about the most is that just because it's the start of the event doesn't mean it's the start of someone's day, right? So for us, we deliver a lot of events in Edinburgh. People might have gotten a really early flight up from London, right? So they might have already left their house at 5 a.m. to catch the red eye to be in the city. So it's the start of the event. They could potentially had 4 hours of their day already. So we really want to make sure that we are welcoming, that we are smiley, that we are open. It really is as simple as that, kind of like really open body language. And it is a case of not necessarily saying to somebody, oh, it's down the hall, or that if they're looking a little bit lost, taking them there. So I would say that we always pad out our events with probably a couple of extra bodies, more than we would potentially think we would need, just to have people who are on hand to help. I think that just because something feels corporate doesn't mean you can't be friendly and welcoming. I think as well that you should always have plans for a kind of help desk. So it could be a case of, hiya, it was my colleague that was registered. They're not well. I've come along. I need to sort out a name badge. You can already see, if you don't have a kind of digital registration platform, kind of iPad printer thing, how a name badge table or the registration desk is going to get really, really backed up. So it's having that process and speaking it through so the team instantly know, okay, this isn't a straight pick up my badge, check them in, and get on with the day thing. There's going to have to be a little change here. So let's move them out. Let's make them feel special, because potentially they're feeling awkward or they can't find the email on their phone. But also let's ensure that delegate flow so that people can be picking up their badges and getting on with their day. So initially it's warm and clearly helpful, and that just sets the tone for the day, right? Being really smiley. And if you are walking somebody along the hall, like, engage them in conversation. Like, even if you're a young staff member, and that is something that we really hammer home with our junior staff members, is you might have been at university or at school or whatever in COVID. You might now lead a really online life, but events are so in person for us. Like, we really don't do basically any Zoom or web conferences or anything like that. So this is the golden stuff. Like, we've already fought through what feels like 50 force fields of reasons why people shouldn't go to something in person. Like, they can't be bothered, they can't take a day off their work, blah, blah, blah. So we've got them here now. Let's, from the moment they walk in that door, make them feel really excited, really comfortable, really secure, so they know that this has been a great use of their time. So they are feeling really prepped and pumped to go and start the day off, which is probably croissants over a networking breakfast kind of thing, like networking, like start the day with coffees, refreshments, that kind of thing. So we just want people to feel like this is a great place for us to be in. It's so happy, friendly, and welcoming. That sets a tone and it sets a culture, so that you know that people here are here to network.
Yeah, I love that.
Thank you.
Now, how can we help our attendees feel that events were actually designed for them, not just for everyone? Like, how personalization plays a role there? What is the prep work required to make it happen? What are your thoughts?
So on personalization, I think it's one, it's a welcomed, but it's a real buzzword right now. Let's all talk about personalization. It can be really, really hard to do. So it's hard if you're a small team, and it's hard if you've got a big number. So again, I think it's starting off with flipping it back to the delegate, the guest, the user, especially if you're using an event app, which I feel like most planners and most conferences do, and they are really, really needed. So it's getting people to, it's potentially incentivizing them to fill out their profile, to explain why the more you put into this, the more you'll get out, because it's a wee bit like back to the gym metaphor, like, you know, you don't do any sit-ups, you ain't getting a six-pack, right? So maybe not as extreme as that, but if you don't fill in your event profile, we can't really do any sort of matchmaking. So that is one message. I think then as well, it's a case of, we've done something really quirky at a conference recently where we don't have a lot of meeting space. So we really encourage people to have meetings. You know, they're scaling companies, meeting with investors, but there isn't a huge amount of space. Whereas I actually think it's a case of, if you lead a horse to water, you can make it drink, because we simply have taken some tables, put signage on it, and this has been like meeting desk 1, meeting desk 2, meeting desk 3, and then on the Eventify app, we've said to people, that's where you can meet. So it almost, in case of like, oh, I didn't really know where I was going, or this didn't feel, you're like, oh, I just booked meeting desk 1 and that's it there, so I'm going there. So again, you're making it really easy, and then you're thinking of how best to facilitate those meetings, those networking catch-ups, when you don't have a lot of space. So I think that it's potentially not personalization, but I think it's really trying to go above and beyond as an event planner, as opposed to saying, well, you know, there's a small space there, like you could go, you're like, no, actually, just by a little bit of signage, and then by adding it on as a room on the app, then we have thought about people. I think that giveaways at events, like that sort of like swag that we used to be seeing, like tote bags and water bottles, we see that scaled back more and more for budgets and also for sustainability. So I think it's like personalization. What are the things that we could do on site that really work? So for me, it's often about food, consumables that we can have. So drinks and food that can be really it can be a talking point, and they can be personalized as well. So branded up cookies always go down really well. Maybe doing something like pumpkin spice lattes in the autumn season. I think there's a lot of things that you can just think, oh, that is
Oh my.
quirky. Yeah, and it doesn't take a lot. And what I would say as well is that, for me, because often we have clients who have a mid-market budget, right? So they don't have huge amounts, but they want to get value for money, and they're not necessarily looking for the cheapest solution. So I will be going back to a hotel, and I'll be saying, what do you want to do? Like, is there a new menu that you really want to push? Is there something that your chef wants to try? Just let us know, and we can work that in as well. So often that can be really favorable for costs, and it can just be a quirky, different experience for the delegates as well.
I think that, yeah, that's really smart. Like, kind of offering a platform to test new things that can help us also maybe like play with the price. I think that's a smart way to manage the budgets. Love it. Then also sometimes, especially you were mentioning the corporate events, sometimes it feels like we attend corporate events or exhibitions because we should, we must be there, not because, oh, I'm really glad I'm here. What we could do to flip that from, yeah, I need to go because I have to, rather than just, oh, I'm really glad I attended this, for corporate examples, no?
Definitely. So I think it's back to the thing that I said at the start. It's really like, make sure that that event has not only objectives for you as a client, but you could put yourself in your delegate's shoe and think about the objectives that they would want to meet. So as a small business owner, you might want to meet fellow small business owners, right? So make sure that there's that networking opportunity. If you are an investor, make sure that there are other companies in the room whom you would potentially want to meet with. If you are a scaling company, make sure that those scaling companies have investors to meet. Like, really think about making sure that you've got that really diverse audience mix, because you want people to say, it was a great event, it was really smooth, it was really well done, it was really welcoming, but also I heard from great speakers who are not necessarily ones who might be in your industry as well. I would like to point that out, who might not necessarily be in your typical wheelhouse, but also I took away top tips. I had different networking opportunities. And for me, I do not like sort of twee team building. Like, that is just not for me. I think it can work really well for potentially in-house conferences. Like if you're just doing something as a massive team, like you're a massive insurance company and you need to do some bond, I think that that can work well. But if it's a mixed conference, i.e. people coming from all different companies, I think that sometimes that can be too challenging and off-putting. So making sure that people know what to expect and that the workshops that they would have are interesting, quirky, and can work for a variety of industries. So things that I think are always a win is something around digital marketing. So if you're doing a kind of business conference, I think that that always works well. People really want to know. But why don't you just invite people to, if you're doing digital marketing, why don't you do a kind of power hour where people could come along and have their accounts audited, like a couple of experts in the room? It's not just a case of here's a full case study that I've invented. Like actually get people help in the room. Like I think that is really, really valuable.
Oh, I love this idea. I'm going to take it. I like that. Also,
I'm
I would
really
say no. The secret.
interested.
Sorry, go on.
I just want to elaborate on the power hour, that that is something that so often in conferences you just see people snaking away like, oh, I've got to do a Zoom call, oh, I need to check my emails and things. We can't fight that force anymore. That is it. We're all addicted to our phones. We're all running several businesses. We've all got umpteen email accounts. So why not try and build the power hour into, and so you could have specialists in a room. It could be again a kind of breakout. That breakout could just be going all the time. So you don't have to get everybody to do that at the same time. But I think it'd be a great opportunity for them to be like, okay, well, that's the hour I'm going to take out because I'm feeling like I've just got a couple of emails burning in my inbox and I need to get onto it. Or I know that there's going to be somebody there who is really great to talk about Facebook ads or you know, whatever affects other people as well in their business, tax or culture or HR issue, or you know, whatever the thing is. That again, you would know this because you would know your delegates really well, because again, you're having a seat at the table when the conference is coming to fruition. So that then those power hours can have some experts, and then I don't feel like suddenly I've been away from my desk all day. I don't feel the need to not go to other sessions and to not show up as best as I could, because I've managed to do an hour's worth of work, whether that is just bashing out a to-do list, fixing some emails, having a quick call with the team, having a 15-minute catch up, like whatever that thing is, I can still be at the conference and then quickly take care of business too.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. One of this, no, the recipes is creative ideas. As you said, this power hour for experts to provide value to every attendee across the day. No, and the other one is a balance of the right people in the room. That's what I'm learning from you. Now, so everyone feels like welcome and they have someone meaningful to connect with. I
Yeah,
think, yeah, I
definitely.
love
And
that.
what I would say is
Nice.
that like we are doing this a lot for clients, and right now it can still be really manual. So and that is off-putting for people. You're like, oh, it's going to be so hard to do a conference for 4,000 people when that level of personalization. One, I would say try and break that conference of 4,000 people into smaller blocks and imagine that you've almost got 10 conferences in one, and it'd be so like, what would this 400 people experience, what would that 400, you know, and so forth and so forth. And then also we just see the trend massively for smaller curated conferences, so i.e. People have to be vetted, people have to be in certain industries, and it just has to be really, really tailored. And I think that that is golden for sponsors, and then it's golden for attendees as well, because then you guarantee that everybody in that room is in your genre and your wheelhouse, looking for the same mission as you as well. And I think that can be really important in the startup to scale up community as well, which is something that we work a lot in Scotland with. Is but I'm sure it's prevalent in other industries as well.
Yeah, I love it. Now, you have you have even managed events during transport strikes
Yep.
across. You decided to break down this and run events across multiple venues simultaneously, coordinated with VIP security needs. behind all these moving pieces, there must be systems and technology holding it together. Now, the question for you is, how has your relationship with event tech evolved as your events became also more complex?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're using event tech in many ways. Um, Event tech gets even better when your relationships and your network are really strong as well. So event tech by itself is great and it absolutely can just make things a lot more seamless. Relationships can be really obviously are absolutely essential in that sort of like networking thing. But if you don't have the event tech, you're still then very manual and things aren't really that elevated. So putting the two together. So for instance, the strikes was a total pain, budget buster as well. But that came off the fact that then I had a relationship with the transport company. So then I was able to say, you know what? Can you believe I know everybody suddenly needs a bus in this city, but I need 12. And please can I be at the top of the list kind of thing. And then also that is a case of then being able to communicate effectively with your audience, right, with your delegates, because they can see the news, they've got X, they've got like Facebook or whatever, so they know that there's transport strikes, they can see the agenda, and all of a sudden you're starting like, how will we get there, what are we to do? So the more you can just nip that in the bud by saying like, hey, like we've seen this, we're on it, we'll give you an update by noon, then sending out another blast as well, and then sending out the actual plan is golden. Because, you know, gone are the days where you're like standing on stage with a megaphone being like, if you're in the blue group, get on a blue bus. Like, just the fact that everybody can have it on their phone, seamless, less panic inducing, slick.
Sounds great. There are one interesting initiative you just launched also, this one named Spark Stays,
Yeah.
no, where you are like curating, like bringing curated experiences to hotels and stays. This feels for me like a tech meeting personalization, maybe. So what made you realize that traditional event planning needed this kind of digital evolution? This is really interesting project. I would love to learn more.
Thank you. So, Francisco, this is my absolute baby, even though I do have two kids and have been an event planner for a long time and have had Strawberry Lemonade for, 6.5 years or so. But Sparks Days came out of personal frustration and professional realization. So, really quickly, I was at Disneyland Paris with my daughter. She turned 3. I had emailed Disney to say, hey, can I get a birthday cake and some balloons in the room? And they were like, no. And if you've ever been to Disney or know anything about that little mouse, you know that you cannot sneeze in Disney without them charging you $10. So I was like, oh, that is an opportunity. And the same thing had happened at other times as well. I'd had, bachelorette parties and so forth. But I also understood the logistical nightmare. So when, as planners, now Strawberry Lemonade is solely corporate, so we don't do any like nice stuff. In Sparks Days, it's a lot of the nice stuff. But when we have been asked to do the nice stuff as Strawberry Lemonade, it can be really challenging. So you can have issues with GDPR, you can have issues with getting checked into the room, you can have issues with housekeeping. There's so many things that are off-putting for hotels. So I just saw this in a kind of macro way of being like, why don't we just delight guests, be able to do hyper personalization, which we can do because we can automate so many things with AI now. And then why don't we allow hotels to like surpass the expectations of their guests and then also make a little bit of money while they're doing it? So that is Sparks Days. Ultimately, here in the UK, we have Deliveroo, the States have got DoorDash, and that's how I look at it. It is like the Deliveroo DoorDash of party planning, focused on hotels and self-care and accommodation, where at the tap of a button, you can upgrade your stay. And that can be things that are really fun, like balloons, balloon ceilings, arches, marriage proposals, cake, champagne. We only do that kind of thing right now, but you can see the dream can become really big really quickly of all the things that you can add on and add in, and then all the things that are out of the room as well. Limos, theatre tickets, like you can really see that. But for me, we're just going for the magic and the delight. So what I really want to do is be able for people to book literally their favorite singer and have them orchestrate their wedding proposal inside a glorious suite in the Sheraton or whatever. I could talk about it all day. I'm conscious not to, but the only reason that this event, that like this like Sparks Days, this system can come around is because of event tech, right? And I think that now I will imagine that a lot of agencies will be starting to look and thinking like, not only will we be using the tech, but we probably need to be a bit of the tech as well. So whether that's things like chatbots, having their own large language model, having their own event app that is like it's like sort of like an API to yours as well. I think there's can be lots of things. I'm not actually super techie, and I think that that's been a good thing because if I was, I'd probably have never started this journey. But I really like to talk, and that doesn't change. But I think that now more than ever, even a simple coffee morning can be enhanced by a bit of tech. I feel like there's just something out there for every event now, not to be intrusive, to be help the event actually be inclusive.
I love that. I love that. I have two more points to touch with you, so I know
Yep,
that we have just like a bit more time. But looking at the next generation of
yep.
event attendees, how do you see technology changing not just how we plan events, but what people expect from the event experiences themselves?
I honestly think the new wave of what is coming with AI is almost unfathomable. But I think we'll get to a stage where you and I will be chatting in person, and you and I's bots, our AI agents, will be having a conference together. I really think that we will see the dawn of where we have really that I'm suddenly in two places at one time. So I see that. Where I see is the attention grab. So who gets it? So what's going to be better for me? Should I be chatting with you, Francisco, or should I be in the conference? I think it's going to be a really interesting time. I think that event tech will take a massive leap as well. I think that from the point I just said, that every event will have a tech part to it. There'll be some sort of tech infrastructure. I think that every event will ultimately be more inclusive in a digital sense. And I think that I honestly sometimes think I don't know what I'm thinking because it's so exciting, and I just feel like things like AI are changing every day. It can be really hard to keep on top of trends and to understand what is a trend that's going to turn into fruition and what is a trend that just turned into something that you're like, I can't believe we ever used that. Like
Just
that's
bus.
so yeah, yeah, yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Do you know, Sean, has this conversation has been really valuable, and mostly not to share with our audience today. I wanted to ask final questions as a kind of wrap up. But if someone listening is planning their first major corporate event,
Yeah.
what's the one piece of advice about creating memorable experiences that would make the biggest difference? And what's one piece of tech they should absolutely not overlook? Those are the
So
final takeaways, please.
right. So I'm going to go part two, then one. So honestly, hand on heart, with no gun to my head, I would say that people should be using Eventify. I think it is the most obvious, the most accessible, and both at price point and in terms of user friendliness. So whatever that means, we are such a genuine fan of Eventify because it has been so accessible for a small agency like ours, and it has been game changing for our clients, and especially clients whom were a little bit tech hesitant. Now they can't go back. They've been there, they've seen it, and they love it.
Love that.
So I love this partnership deeply. Back to part one. If somebody's, first of all, if they're planning their first corporate event, they have to know it's going to probably be a bit rubbish, right? No matter what they do, right? Your first event, you look back and you go, I wouldn't stand for that now. That's not my standards now. And oh my God, I made so many rookie mistakes. But you got to keep going. You've got to be really, really nice to each other. The thing in terms of your first event and you want to make it really personal is making sure people know who you are. Just don't sign it off as the events team. Like, hiya, I'm Sian, and I'm going to stand at that registration desk when people are coming in and be like, oh, hey, it's lovely to put a name to the face, because those delegates might actually end up being at several things of yours. Those relationships can be wonderful. I think event planners have, it's almost not a black book, but it's a golden book of contacts. And I know that something that I am really good at providing value for my clients is the who else is in my network. So I've seen a speaker, I've worked with them before. I think they could work really good on this thing that you're doing. So the more you can be out there, the more that you can take up space, the more that you know that you deserve to be there, even when acting on behalf of a client, and that you are an asset, is hopefully some advice that if you're planning your first corporate event, that you take on board. And don't give yourself a hard time, because all these years later, things can still go wrong. But it's how you handle the fires and how you put them out that makes for a good planner. And I could talk
I love
all day
this.
long about things that have gone wrong, because you only remember the things that have gone wrong, and it takes conversations like this to remember saying, "Oh yeah, we did work with them, and we survived."
If we survive, yeah. I did survive last year to my first corporate event, so yeah,
Yeah,
I have that clarity. So yeah, and of course, if you need help, you can always call Sean in Strawberry Lemonade events, to get some
absolutely.
extra hands on. I
You
have
would
this.
welcome it.
I wanted to show just for everyone know that this you have actually a website where people can learn more about you, your agency, the services. Actually, I noticed that you are offering end-to-end event planning and management. So
Yeah.
everyone who needs a hand, of course, always go check Sean website, strawberrylemonadeevents.com, if you
And
want
I
to learn
really
more.
urge people to
Uh,
find me on LinkedIn. And, sometimes you just need a bit of a community when you're a planner. It can be a little of a lonely journey because you think everything's got to be perfect and you're supposed to have all the answers. So I love when event planners connect and we share the good and the bad, because ultimately it benefits everybody.
yes. Sean, did you know that we are close to launch our community of practice for event professionals? Like we want to
So
run one for Eventify customers and also event couriers. So
great. I
stay tuned
didn't,
because
but
we are
keep
sending
me in the
a
loop.
newsletter next week. Yeah,
Love
inviting
it.
everyone to join us. Yes.
Amazing.
Yes. Again,
Francisco,
thanks, Sean, for your time
thank
today.
you.
It was amazing. We learned lots. And of course, stay tuned because we have, like Sean, more professionals coming to share the goodness with us. See you all next week. Bye bye.